Welcome to the Green Grind Podcast, where we discuss real experience, real struggles, and real business. My name is LeRoy Maines. I'm with Brilliant Borders Landscaping, and we have Kory Ballard with Perfect Cut Site Management and Ballard Innovative Products. As always, we have Kaz, who's the brains of this thing, getting it from our mouth to your ears and eyes. Just a friendly reminder that the Green Grind is sponsored by Jobber and Hustler. And today, Kory and I are talking with Shane Kline with Kline Electric. Shane is located here in Des Moines, Iowa. Shane, welcome to the Green Grind. We're glad to have you on the show today.
Yeah, thanks for the invite.
Yeah, you bet. And Shane is a friend of yours, Kory. I believe you guys grew up together or something, or you've known him for years.
Yeah,
operates a huge
absolutely.
company here in Des Moines, has a couple other branches, and so we thought we'd get him on today and chat with him a little bit about how his business and how he's doing.
Yeah, I've watched Shane's business grow over the years, kind of even with the Perfect Cut story, just over the years watching his company grow, and they're actually located right next to our Perfect Cut offices here in Des Moines. He's expanded into other markets, and we'll get into that as well, but I don't know how many employees he's got now. We'll get into that, but a huge company, and, guys, we've been talking to you a lot about just trying to bring in guests that are running larger companies, talking about how they've managed to grow their companies, lead people, recruit, retain employees, which is always a hot topic. Everybody's talking about employees now, and Shane's got some pretty cool stuff that he's done with his company, including like an ESOP, which I think is something we want to get into, because there's always that question of what do I do with my company long term. So, Shane, we appreciate you taking some time. He's a local guy. I reached out to him, and I know you're busy, so I appreciate you taking some time with us today.
You bet, anytime.
Yeah. Shane, so our listeners know a little bit about who you are. Could you tell us just a little bit of who you are, your background, and kind of how you got your start?
Yeah, you bet. Kline Electric's been in business for 18 years. I started as an apprentice electrician for another local electrical company. I did that for about 7 years and decided that I wanted to kind of go out and do my own thing, offer things that nobody else was doing. Take a look at the pipe and wire industry, we call it, because we're all selling the same stuff, and just figure out a way we could do it different, offer our customers a little bit different experience. And like I said, 18 years ago, put the shirt on and thought I was really something at that time, and we just kept growing, and it's been through great partnerships and great people, and to get us to where we are today. So
Awesome. So when you worked for somebody for 7 years then and decided to go on your own,
Yep.
What were you going to do different, or what at that point, what did you think you were going to do a little bit differently that they were not doing at the time?
I just wanted the opportunity to take a step back and show people that without their work and their efforts, none of this happens. I'm a decent electrician. I'm not going to say I'm a great one, because I've been in the office longer than I have been in the field.
Right.
I could probably wire 5 houses a year, and last year we did 1,100 because of the people that we have. So I just wanted that opportunity to say, let's take everything else that I see people in the community doing, pick the goods and the bads, and then put our little spin on it. And it's really been a blessing to be where we're at today. So
Yeah, that's
Awesome.
something we talk to guys about, when they're, in the lawn care industry, landscape industry. I encourage guys all the time to work for somebody for a few years. I know guys want to get out on their own, and there's in our business, Shane, there's a pretty low barrier of entry versus being an electrician, where you've got to actually have a skill and license, I assume. I don't know much about it, but I think your guys go through apprenticeship and different things. And so in the lawn care business, you can go to Home Depot today and you can buy a mower and you can cut grass. And, so we always encourage guys, or I do anyways, that, go work for somebody, decent size. It might prolong you starting on your own, but a couple of years there, you're going to learn a lot. Watch what they do. Pay attention to how they run their business, how they treat their people, what's working in their business, what's not working in their business. I think you just learn so much more that way. Versus just jumping in and then having to make all those mistakes over the years. So I assume, and you worked for a great company. I know the company you worked for, and I assume you learned a lot there as well with how they manage their people.
Yep.
And so when you started up. Was it just you on your own? I remember a couple, like way back, and your first shop. I kind of remember that mess as well. But was your goal out of the gate to? I know where you are today, I think, and was it to be as big as you are today, or was it just let's see what happens? Let's go out there and offer great service and see what happens, or what was your short term, long term goal when you went on your own?
I think our short term goal, I know mine when I walked, in the door that first day was, if I can make $100,000 a year, I've made it. And
Right.
'cause back then that was a lot of money. But really, just to I look back at some of the lessons we've learned over the last 18 years, and man, those first 5 years were a learning experience, to say the least. There were days where we probably shouldn't have been in the field working. There were days that we worked, till 2:00 in the morning to make ends meet. I wrote my company handbook. We only had 10 years of vacation, so that tells you how long I thought we were going to make it. But then as it kept going and going, every year we would sit there and say, let's not plan for growth next year, and we would grow 10%, 12%. Last year we had about a 26% growth without even trying. And the one thing I always try to go back and tell my people is, if you guys do the work, the revenue will happen. We don't really set revenue goals as far as on the growth side. We just want to go out there and keep doing the same thing we do every day and supply a good process for our customers. So
interesting. And you guys do both residential and commercial?
Residential, commercial, audio, video, underground, directional drilling, you name it. If it's in the electrical field, we do it.
Okay. And locations now, you've got 3, correct?
Yep. We have Des Moines, Omaha, Waterloo, and Cedar Rapids.
Oh, so you've got 4
total
locations.
Yep.
And I remember you and I having lunch, I don't know, you maybe even, God, it's time flies, maybe 3 or 4 years ago, and you were, I think at that point we had started our second branch, and you were just kind of thinking, I think I want to expand. Yep. What does it look like?
Yep.
How has that expanded? How's that went for you? Did you acquire anybody, or did you just go into those markets and apply the same principles that you've done here in your headquarters?
One of the things that we did, we started to look at acquiring people, and at the end of the day, you're just buying blue sky. Everybody, like you said earlier, everybody thinks their business is worth millions of dollars, and when you get down to brass tacks, most of the time there's nothing there. So what we did is we actually put it out to our existing membership, or our existing owners, employee owners, and we grew it organically. So if somebody was willing to pack up and move their family to Omaha, we gave them that opportunity. Same thing over in Cedar Rapids and Waterloo both. Had some mid-level guys that were really good workers working for us. The chances of them being management in Des Moines was slim to little, just because of the amount of people in front of them. And they said, you know what, we're young, we don't have a lot of ties here, we'll pack up and go do it. And they moved up there, and they've done an awesome job. It's been really nice to have that constant workflow, because we did have some contracts right off the bat, so we weren't really scratching to get in the door. But now that we're there, man, it's game on, and we're my goal for our Omaha branch is to have 50 guys in 5 years, and we're on year 2, and we're up to 15. So we're
nice.
We're trucking.
Yeah, I think that's awesome, because that's what we did in our expansion as well. As we looked at our team and thought, who here has talent and maybe doesn't have a spot to move. And it's tough to get people to move, though, especially if wife's got a job, they've got kids in school, sport activities, those things. But I think in all of our expansions, we've looked at who on our team is the right fit, and I think it also helps show the rest of your team that not only are you growing, but there's opportunity in your company. And so that might not apply to the guys listening to this that have a small lawn care company, but I know we get a lot of guys that ask about getting into different markets and how do I go there. And I always say, do you have somebody on your team that's an A player that maybe doesn't have anywhere to go? You have no room, and can you move them to that other market? Give them, whether it's some profit sharing, some stock, whatever it may be. Could be some ownership. I know a lot of guys that when they expand, they give them some small ownership. I want to get into the ESOP here in a minute as well. But when you get into those new markets, Shane, one of the questions, we always talk about marketing too. Obviously all your stuff is logoed up, everything looks the same. But are you guys, when you go to a new market, are you going in there with a marketing plan to get your name out there? I know Perfect Cut struggled so much. We go to a new market and nobody knows who we are, and we're not a low-cost provider. So we've certainly struggled more, especially in the Omaha market, than we expected. It took 4 years to get really any traction. We almost shut that down at one point. So when you move into a new market, you said you had some work already lined up, but are you guys spending some money on marketing to get your name out there, or what are you doing to get some representation in the market? And then, of course, I want to get into how you get people next.
Yeah. One of the main things we do when we selected the guys that were willing to move is to make sure that they could actually go out and peddle the company, so to speak. Mm-hmm. We've never been a company that spends a ton of money on marketing, even in Des Moines. We might do a free magazine ad or something here and there and trade off, but as far as spending hundreds of thousands of dollars marketing, we've just never got into there. Omaha's a different beast altogether, man. If you're fighting it on the landscaping side, try the electrical side, because we get a different inspector every day that has different ways of looking at things. So that's been a challenge, but on the other side, those guys just get out there and they meet new builders, they meet new contractors. We've joined a couple different associations over in the Waterloo area, and that's helped. But also, we haven't really pushed it yet. We're trying to grow this the branches with making sure that it makes sense what we're doing, and we don't want to overextend ourselves. We don't want to not be able to perform because, as you know, once they do let you in and they start hiring you, if you fail, you'll be out just as quick as you got in. So.
Yeah. What are something, and you could probably answer this as well too, what are some of the other challenges that you guys have had going into these other markets? Because, you make it sound very easy. You hire a mid-level guy that's with your company, you move him over there and you start looking for business. There has to be more to it than just that, I would say. What are some other things that were very challenging that maybe you didn't anticipate going into these other markets?
Well, I can just speak for the Perfect Cut side, and then Shane can answer on his end. For us, we looked at, do we have some clients that we can already, that have facilities there? I mean, first off,
right.
So we wanted to pick locations that were close, and most of Shane's are close as well. That we want to, first off, we want to be able to get there in a couple hours. So if we have to go over and help manage something, allocate equipment, move some equipment around, we can do that. But we wanted to look at our client base and, we do the UPSs? Okay, does UPS have a location in Cedar Rapids? Do we think we have a foot in there?
Right.
So we started doing that, and we did pretty well in that market. But back to the Omaha market, we struggled. There's companies that have been there for 30, 40 years. We move in, they don't know if we cut hair, cut grass. We're trying to kiss babies, shake hands, join all the associations, sponsor golf outings. And we did really well with that. But then again, back to what I've said, we're not a low-cost provider, so they've never heard of us. They've got relationships for 20, 30 years, and we're not the cheapest. So, and then the easy thing was several times is, well, let's just lower our prices. So now
right.
we have a non-profitable branch. Those were conversations we had numerous times of, well, we got to get our foot in the door, right? So we lower our prices, and so now we have to, have all the headaches, and we have to buy more equipment, and we're not making any money. So for us, it was way more challenging than we thought. And just recently, Omaha has had a huge growth spurt, which has been nice. The same guy's been over there, who was in our Des Moines branch that we moved over there, but challenging, certainly. And then, of course, to get employees and to get qualified people, we're trying to get them from other companies.
Mm-hmm.
And so there were certainly some things for us that were tough. Luckily, we've found great locations and bought some buildings in those areas, which has worked out well. But how about you, Shane? What struggles have you had getting into those markets?
We kind of did the same thing. We had current customers that were moving over there or opening a branch of their own, so we could go with them. So we had the revenue. We took a different approach. We tried to keep our cost as low as we could getting in there. So we just rented a building in all 3 locations just to see how it went.
Right.
But you're exactly right. When we opened our doors, you can run all the Indeed ads you want, but you're literally just taking people from somebody else's company. And as we all know, if they're looking to move, they're probably not the greatest guys in town. So we've over in Omaha, we've gone through our staff, I think, twice, but now we have the right guys. They see what we're doing. And it's almost a culture shock for them when they come from those companies over there and see the difference, the different things that Kline Electric's doing for our employees and the ESOP and all that. So once you get them in the door and you show them that, now we have a great group. Those guys are killing it. And when we watch the revenue and the profitability on a smaller shop like that, you can really see the numbers turn around pretty quick when you have the right guys behind the wheel. As they say, the right guys in the bus and in the right seats. On the eastern side of the state, that's a little bit different electrically over there. There's more industrial work. There's more long-term relationships, as you speak of. But again, as they see what we do and as we get around more and more of those contractors, it really just starts to flow. And again, not spending a ton of money to keep the name out there. We do the same thing. We do the golf outings, and where our target market's going to be, that's where we're willing to spend the money. So
yeah.
Was your team? Has there been any kickback from your local team? I know you've got great people underneath you, people that have been with you probably a long time. Mm-hmm. Is everybody on board with the growth? Is everybody on board with the new? I wouldn't call them satellite, offices, but is everybody on board with that, or are you selling that as? I think are you president of the company today?
Yep.
Okay, so is that you pushing that? Is your team pushing that? Or is everybody? Is there been any kickback from your team? Like, hey, I don't think we should go there, or
yeah, there's been zero kickback, and the great thing about being employee-owned, which we'll talk about here in a minute, is the way the share price is going to continue to grow to a point where everybody thinks it's worth the time is either we have to do acquisitions or we have to grow the company. Mm-hmm. We have people all the time come in and say, let's go to Kansas City, let's go to Minneapolis, and I say, we can go anywhere you guys want to go, Shane's just not going to go there and be there overnight. And so as an employee owner, if this is where you guys want to take this, I'm all for it. You guys are going to have to help facilitate that, though. I'm not going to put in my time as far as missing out on family events and family time. And we have some very aggressive people behind the wheel at Kline Electric that want to do that, and we support them, and we're all about it. So,
because once you get the systems in place, we have these conversations all the time. Perfect Cut's working on an acquisition right now, and we talk about other markets. Because once you get the systems in place, then your wheels start turning and thinking, shit, we can do this here, we can do this here. But someone's got to run it. That's it seems great on paper, right? Well, let's go to Colorado Springs, let's go to Lincoln, Nebraska, but somebody's got to run it.
Yeah.
And in our business, in the landscape lawn care business, I suppose it's the same. It's tough. We've got weather and equipment and people and there's contracts. It's a tough business, and you've got to be hands on. It doesn't just run itself. But so we're constantly looking at what makes the most sense for our team, and who's going to do the heavy lifting.
Yeah, and I think you and I are the same person. It's pretty easy to say, let's go do this, but if you're not involved in it, it really drives me crazy. Like, I don't want to be there. I want to be with my family, but at the same time, I'm looking at the Omaha branch, and I'm looking at Cedar Rapids going, man, if I was over there, and I could be over there for a week, we could be doing this, and we could be doing this, but you also have to take a step back and let your leaders run that and do it the way that they want, so.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's talk a little bit about this ESOP thing, because it's always intrigued me, and I have a ton of questions about it. But could you tell us, when did you do that, and what was the benefit behind it for you as the owner, and what's the benefit behind it for Kline Electric as a company as well too?
Yeah. So ESOP stands for Employee Stock Ownership Plan, and at the end of the day, it's an exit strategy. And you have a lot of people. Normally, a guy would be 55, 65, 70 years old. Maybe he doesn't have anybody to leave his business to.
Yep.
They would call in and say, hey, here's what we want to set this up because I don't have any exit strategy and I need to do something with this company so that it isn't just gone. To be honest with you, in our first meeting when all the lawyers and everybody came in, we were sitting at the table and the one lawyer's looking around going, okay, where's the owner? Like, where's the old man who's trying to sell this place? I'm like, it's me. And where it came from was, we all know that there's golden handcuff plans out there that you can do for management. There's, there's the bonuses and all this. But I wanted something that at the end of the day, a guy could be an electrician for Kline Electric for 20, 30, 40 years and be done. And we could show him thanks without literally just, high five and a pizza party. Mm-hmm. The other thing, like I said earlier, I can't do all this by myself. I'm pretty humble. I think at the end of the day, we've been very successful. And anybody that comes up and says, man, congratulations, you've done a great job, I immediately say, they have. I'm just here. I facilitated this deal. They've made it happen. So in our industry, when you have people coming in and they're walking out the door for $1 an hour down the street or whatever, we sat down and said, what can we do that will discourage that'll make people think twice about walking out the door? And this thing came up. And we've been in ESOP now for 6 years. And when we set it up, they told me it was a 5-year program to get people to buy in, to get people to be on the bus. And it's taken every bit of that. It takes a lot of education. We constantly have to be training our people and reminding them how it works. And we had announced it at a Christmas party at Prairie Meadows, and I think there was 235 people in the room. And, we announced it, and you could have heard a pin drop. Nobody had a clue what I meant. Uh-huh. Like, what do you mean I'm an owner?
What's it mean for me?
Yeah. How does this work? And it's taken a lot of education. For me personally, the nice thing about it is we have it structured where actually I'm getting some of my liquidity out of the business now while I'm alive. Mm-hmm.
Are you dying?
Well, no, I'm just saying a lot of people work their whole life.
Right.
They turn 75, they get a check, and they're like, can't
enjoy it.
I can't even go to Cancun now, so what's the point,
Right.
And that's a huge benefit for me. It was very humbling because you have to sit across the table from somebody and they say, here's what your company's worth, that we're willing to buy it on behalf of your employees. Uh-huh. Maybe you really like the number, maybe you hate it. Luckily, we had a really good negotiation and we came to a point where they bought it on behalf of the employees. But you're also signing a deal right there that from the time we've signed it, I think we've almost doubled in size and my deal's done. That money's going back to the employee owners. Shane doesn't get to go in there and take a distribution check or, there's a lot of little perks that you have as a business owner. and those are gone. But the nice thing about it is now you can be completely transparent.
Yeah.
There's nothing to hide.
Yeah, that's one of the, we were talking about that. So you could potentially be fired from
Absolutely.
your company, or
Absolutely.
you have to ask for vacation time.
Not necessarily ask for vacation time. We have a board of directors, and as long as you're running the company with your fiduciary responsibility like you have in the past,
Right.
you continue to run the company. People have a misconception that if we need to buy a van, we have to take a vote. No, you don't have to do that. Now, if we went out and bought all the managers' Ferraris for company cars, that's not in the best interest of the whole company. So then you're going to have to answer the board of directors. I still run the business. I still pretty much do exactly what I want to do because, again, my big thing that I'm trying to do is for all the naysayers out there that said this was a joke and this isn't going to work, I want to hand people checks for $1 million and be like, yeah, it was a joke, wasn't it? You know, and unfortunately and fortunately, we haven't had anybody retire yet. We're a pretty young workforce, so we have a long time to build this thing up. But that's my goal, and like it or hate it, when we hand that first check out, I'm probably going to finger the camera when they take the picture, so that everybody that said it was a joke is going, yeah, Kline's doing that to me.
Yeah.
One of the biggest benefits, and I don't know how far in the weeds you want to get, is being that we're 100% employee owned, and that's a lot different than what you see like Hy-Vee and all. Everybody's like, oh, you're like Hy-Vee. No, we are 100% employee owned, which means the guy pushing the broom in the warehouse all the way up to me, we're owners. Because of that 100% mark, we pay zero federal income tax because the taxes are paid on the distributions to those employees when they take them. So now all of a sudden, once my debt's paid back, you're talking about a company that can roll millions of dollars back into that company every year instead of paying taxes on it.
Yeah, we liked that piece too. We looked at an ESOP as well, and we did a feasibility study and a few things, and there was some things we liked and didn't like, but that piece was pretty appealing. Shane, is there situations where, you know, a guy pushing the broom is an owner, right? And
I know where this is going.
well, I want to tell Leroy's story, but we'll do that in a minute. But tell your story real quick, and then I'll get into this.
All right, so this employee-owned thing, I used to work for Hy-Vee when I was younger, and it was kind of a big deal, you know, and they always said this is employee-owned and this type of thing. And well, 4th of July in Urbandale is always a big deal, and there was a 4th of July street dance the night before, and so I called in sick to work. I was younger. I was like 20, 21, 19, something like that. And the guy that I was working for saw me at this thing, you know, and I'm like, well, okay. So the next day, 2 days later, I go into work. I think it was a couple days after the 4th of July. And, you know, they're like, you need to come into the office and blah, 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 blah. And this is when it was really this is when it was easy to get people, you know, I could go find a job the next day. So I could, you know, it didn't really matter. And they get me in there and they're sitting down and they let me go. And I look at the guy as dead eyes as I could with a straight face, and I said, "I own this place. You can't fire me."
I'm an owner.
And you could have heard a pin drop on the thing. I mean, the guy's just like,
I love that story.
"Oh shit!
You can't fire me.
What do we do now?"
You're 20 years old.
You know?
Look, I own this fucker.
But the truth is they fired me regardless.
Yeah.
So, but
well, I'm sure well deserved. But so my question, Shane, is, you know, are there, you know, somebody has to make the decisions, which is the board, I assume. And I think you've explained to me kind of how the board works. There's people on your team and then outside of the team, right?
Yep.
And so, but are there people in the company that, again, maybe question decisions because now they've got skin in the game? So I don't think we should have went to Omaha, or I don't think we should go to Kansas City, or why did we get 6 new vans last month?
Yeah.
And how does that affect my stock price, or what's that look like?
And it's really kind of an eye-opening experience for a lot of them because, like I just said, transparency becomes one of the biggest words we use now. We do a quarterly meeting where it's a mandatory meeting. We bring all 237 employees in. We put up how we did last quarter because luckily, since the time we've started the ESOP, we have had a positive growth. I've never had to stand on that stage and say, we lost money.
And we had a tough quarter.
Yeah, that day's going to happen. And if they don't think it is, that's why they're not running the company. Good, bad, or indifferent, we show every department. We show, we don't give them numbers. We give them like a pie graph so they can see how they did, and then we give them either a check mark or an X with a nice little cartoon guy because now we do bonuses biannually, and those people want to know how they're doing. So we do bonuses and the ESOP. In the past, if I still owned it, probably wouldn't show them a lot of those numbers. Probably wouldn't even talk about it. The other thing that it's done, to your point, now that we're employee owned, we don't have guys that skate off and take an extra long break. We don't have guys that sit in their van until 10. everybody there, and it's taken some work, man. I'm not saying this happens immediately. They are there to work. They're there to make money because they know it does affect them in the end. We don't waste material like some other guys. You know, before we were in ESOP, I'd have home builders call me and go, I got enough material in this basement to do 2 more houses. You know, the guys didn't care. It wasn't their stuff.
It's not, they
were just there to wire a house or wire a building and go home. And now, I mean, we got guys that bring stuff back. I'm talking receptacles that are $1, and they're filling out a return slip because they want that money to go back on their job so that they can be tracked. And it's, again, those are the little things that we've looked at as, yeah, we're doing the same thing everybody else is, but how do we do it differently? Once a year, you know, everybody thinks that this ESOP, that I sit in my office and go, oh, what's the stock price going to be this year? Like, no, it's a third-party deal. This is a federally regulated program that an outside source comes in and gives you your valuation. And then once a year as a group, we all come together. We usually grill out. We play some silly games. And then we do our stock reveal price for the year previous that we just completed. So next month we'll be doing our stock reveal for everything we did in 2022. And again, we've been really fortunate that every year that's gone up. When it goes down, I don't know if we have a celebration necessarily. It might be a little bit different invite, like just come to the shop type deal instead of, hey here we
we're
go.
not grilling out today.
Yeah. So, yeah, it's been great. But, you know, we educate them on that. And we every time we have those meetings, we say, hey, we've been blessed. This economy's going in the right direction. Kline Electric's growing at an exponential rate. And really the people that do the ESOP for us that administer it, they're like, this is out of control. Like, you guys, when they do the modeling, they have to be very reserved. They can't overpromise. They can't come in and tell your people, everybody here is going to get $1 million. They have to model it on the current financials, and every year they're like, you guys blew the model out of the water. Like, this is crazy. Awesome. But it just goes to show that when everybody's pulling the same direction, that's what we're doing. And my biggest thing people always say is, do you regret becoming an ESOP? As an owner, I can't tell you where we'd be today if we weren't an ESOP.
Yeah, that was one of my questions for you, because I started thinking, well, if you did it today with the growth, it would be worth a lot more money, absolutely, right? Or who knows, but maybe the growth wouldn't have happened.
Who knows? We might have attracted different employees that have come to work for us that have been very beneficial to our success. Maybe they wouldn't be there right now. Maybe we would have lost more folks to competition because we don't have it. I can't answer that either way. I just look at it like the day I signed those papers, I was content with what I was getting that day, and I get shares. I'm part of the program. One of the great things is now I also get workman's comp because I'm not the owner. Mm-hmm. So if I decide to fall off a forklift and run myself over, there's unlike when you're the owner, you can't do that. Again, a little humbling. I had to sign a employee agreement of how long I was going to stay and pay, bonuses and pay and work trucks and that kind of thing. But really, at the end of the day, I'm kind of past all that. My biggest goal right now is to really just prove everybody wrong.
Yeah. Right. Well, and I think, just a couple things, when you align your interest with the employee interest, guys that listen to this, I mean, I say that all the time, Leroy, you're working on a program now to bonus your guys based on performance. I think the next podcast we're doing is the guy that has a program that does that, but you've got to align your employees with your interest. And then on this situation, not only are they got skin in the game, but even like you're talking about materials, you might not be near as profitable if you weren't doing it this way. I mean, Everybody is working for the same cause. Again, they're in the boat, rowing the same direction, and it matters now. It matters if they fuck around for 2 hours and take that long lunch break and call their girlfriend and dick around on their cell phone, and they drag the job that could have been done at 3, they drag it out to 6 on a Friday because they're paid hourly or whatever. And so now you've got everybody working for the same goals. And I'm sure you've got people that are your great performers, and you probably still have some people that maybe aren't fully bought in yet. And hopefully the guys around them are saying, hey, listen, this matters. Yeah. All those extra materials that we're just going to throw in the dumpster today, we're bringing that shit back today. Yeah. And there's $200 and I don't know, $500, $200, $1,000 in shit that we're getting ready to just throw in the back of the van, and it just disappears, and nobody knows where it's at. I remember I was in your facility a couple years ago, and you had it like the area like caged off, and you had a guy that checks stuff in and out. I mean, we just used to just have it free. We had thousands of dollars of irrigation parts. Everybody it was just a free for all.
Right.
Guys would go to the supply yard and buy cases of stuff that we've got cases of stuff back in the shop, and it was just a total shit show.
Yeah. It's always interesting to me how you talked about the transparency and the numbers. And if you were still just the owner, you probably wouldn't share a lot of that stuff. And now you do. And it seems like every company we talk to that's a big business, well, what I consider, big business over, $7-8 million, they all are very transparent with their employees, and they all share their numbers in some sort of way. And I know you said you didn't do numbers, but you did graphs and those different types of things. It's always very interesting because I could see, we don't share a lot of that stuff, and we're really going to consider it this year, but how that could somehow backfire, especially if you're sharing some of those numbers of, hey, we did $3.8 million last year and we made $50,000. They'll be like, well, that doesn't work. How do those numbers, and I could see how that could backfire 100%, or not 100%, but quite a.
Remember what Mike Andes said too, though. He's like, if you don't share the numbers, they believe that you're getting rich either way.
Right,
so
exactly.
It's like if you don't share it,
absolutely.
And I remember back in the days, when we used to post our monthly top line revenue. Oh my God, we had a $2 million month or whatever the number was, and it was like, oh my, you guys are killing it. And I'm like, we actually lost money this month. Like we didn't make our margins were so thin, and so we had to start showing it because they were all believing that we were, everybody's asking for raises and they think we're making all this money, so we had to start sharing. Mm-hmm. Excuse me. That every penny matters, that those repairs matter, that all the stuff, if we don't take care of our equipment, you guys want raises, this is what it's going to take. This is what we spent. We show this is what we spent in repairs last month. The guys are blown away. Yeah. Like, we spent $80,000 in repairs last month? Yeah. Could we have prevented $25,000 of that by just taking care of our equipment? And it starts to matter when guys are asking for raises and those types of things. And so the more transparent we became as a company, and we just did our spring kickoff. And again, we don't share exact numbers, but we had a tough first quarter, right? We're in the snow business. We haven't had a lot of snow.
Right.
But we want to be not a downer, but hey, guys, we had a tough first quarter. This is what we've got planned for the next 3 quarters. This is that we're going to have to perform. We're going to have to perform really, really well. And so we're pretty open. Again, we're not showing exact numbers, but with our strategy team and our main management team, they see the financials. And it's been really eye-opening, I think, to a lot of our team members that I think everybody believes we're getting rich.
Right.
And it's like, fuck, guys, we lost money last month.
Yeah, and nobody quite understands that. And, especially if you have to write a check to your company, they don't, nobody likes that either, obviously. So talking about your inventory a little bit, obviously, I just look at a house, electric. You have switches, wire, boxes, all these different types of things. What type of deal are you using for inventory control? And we've talked about that a little bit. You talk about how you have all this stuff and we have all this stuff on these shelves. How are you guys controlling all that inventory? Because I know in most landscaping companies, most companies don't have it, I don't believe.
Thousands of dollars just walking out
and
the
just
door.
Dollars just going out the door. And I'm sure yours could be millions of dollars probably going out the door every single year.
Yeah, that was one of the things we always look at the small stuff that, people take for granted. And sometimes they say, it's just a receptacle or it's just this or that. My vice president actually did a software. We used to go out and count every house, and we used to spend hours upon hours of going through these homes. Well, when you go from 100 houses a year to 1,100 houses, things have to change. So we took a step back. He made some software that literally, as we're doing the estimates now for the builders, it prints off at our supply house and actually orders the material then. We're pretty lucky on the electrical side. I don't know how your ordering goes, but we can have up to like 11 semis a day come to our shop with material. We don't warehouse anything that isn't paid for. And what I mean by that is everything in our warehouse, which I think now we're up to like 50,000 square feet, is for a job. We have the one little lockup that you were talking about, Kory, to kind of fulfill and to keep guys from going to the supply house on a daily basis. Everything else coming and going is literally purchased for a job under a job number and going straight there. We used to do the deal where we had shelf after shelf of stuff. First of all, the guys would come in, and you guys know how this goes. If we start at 7, it's about 7:45. We talked about the Iowa Hawkeyes basketball game for 40 minutes. We needed 3, but grab 5 just in case, or grab 10. Where did those end up at? And when you're talking, we'll probably buy $25 million of material this year, and when it's unaccountable, when you don't know where it's ending up, that gets a little sticky. So we really kind of rein that back in. That software has been a lifesaver. The thing that we got bid on in the last 2 years would be the procurement of bringing on the day we sign a contract now for a big project, we buy everything we possibly can, we bring it in and we hang on to it. last year, 2 years ago, after the virus and all that, commodities just went through the roof.
Yeah.
You're talking a couple $100,000 worth of wire just now, instead of being 150, it just went up to 400. So now we bring all that in, we warehouse it, and then going back to, well, I'll just come and pick up my own wire, or I'll pick up my own parts. I'd rather pay somebody $18 an hour to deliver things, to the point where we now have delivery trucks that go take the stuff out to our guys. So the high dollar guys aren't standing in the shop picking
You've
through
got
junk.
an electrician making, I don't know, $35-40 an hour.
$45 an hour now.
$45 an hour, yeah. So you got him driving around, two guys driving around in a van picking up stuff.
Yep.
You can pay a guy $20 an hour to deliver whatever they need.
Yep.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
What has it been? What has it changed for you? I mean, I'm just kind of thinking about my own experience. You know, I was down at Perfect Cut, and I don't own it anymore, and I'm like, we got to get these trailers painted, and it's like, they're not even my trailers anymore.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, we can do that, but we got to get a PO sent in, and it's like, it was it's a weird feeling. Of course, mine's a little different because I'm not involved in the day-to-day. Matt is still on as the president, but has there been a big difference in your mindset not being technically the owner, or have you just said, hey, I'm running it exactly the same?
It's changed a little bit. I can give you an example that just happened about 2 hours ago. We had a guy who totaled a van about a week ago. It was in the office. And, I said, man, are you okay? Everything good? You doing all right? And he's like, yeah, I feel bad I wrecked your van. And I go, not my van, man. Like, not that I'm not upset about it, but at the end of the day, it's not my van. It's not my material. It's not our tools. We have hundreds of thousands of dollars of tools. It's a little different. I mean, when you roll into work in the morning and you don't get to do the things you used to do as an owner, it changes it a little bit. It's a different feeling, but again, that's the bed I made. I'm willing to sleep in it, and it's just a different approach all the way around. And I think if you talk to anybody else who has a successful ESOP, they'll tell you the same thing. And I go back to the misconception of, do you have to get votes to buy stuff? No, you run that business the same way you want. Our board of directors literally looks over our financials to make sure that we're not off the rails. They don't make any day-to-day decisions. And at the end of the day, we have a focus group who meets every Thursday in the morning of 7 people who actually run our business. They're going to hear this probably, but I can throw my weight around a little bit and get what I want still. I mean, they're great. They have really good insight. They help keep me on track. I used to be the guy, they say I always used to Kline it up like you do. I wanted all my stuff to be perfect with wheels and tires, and I wanted it to be great out there. And then they're like, it's a work van, let's just.
We don't have to put rims on them?
Yeah.
I thought you put rims on. Everything I buy, I put rims on. Bowman said to me, he goes, when are you going to quit putting wheels on your trucks? I go, never, Matt.
Never.
He goes, dude, you're 50. I'm like, I'm not 50, and I'm going to put rims on all my shit forever.
Yeah.
It looks better, man. I don't know.
Yeah.
My bad.
And it's an image. I mean, you want your stuff to look nice. And my insurance man laughs at me because he was there one day, and I think we had 5 new vans. And I go, they'll never look like this again. Take a good look at them.
Yeah.
He goes, what do you mean? I'm like, they're tools at the end of the day. So,
Right.
But our grounds and everything we do, we're rebranding kind of our high-end guys right now. We're going to have a new logo for them. To give our customers a different experience who are doing huge houses, who are doing audio video with us. I'm right in there, and I'm pushing that, and they're like, do we really need, $100,000 worth of speakers in here? I'm like, yeah, if we're doing this, we're doing it right. Where if I would have left it up to some other people, they probably would have went, just keep putting in the $7 Yamahas, we're good. And I'm like, no, we're not doing all this for that. So I love it. It's what drives me. I love getting up and coming to work every day, and we talking about different business owners, and they're like, it's not fun anymore. It's still challenging to me. I still love doing it, and it's the people around me.
Yeah, so. That was one of my questions. How long do you think you'll stay on?
Well, I have to stay on until I'm 55, according to the paperwork.
Do you? Well, so you're around for a little bit longer, anyways. I think younger than me, or the same age.
Yeah.
But,
So would you say, Shane, has the ESOP helped you retain employees? Or I shouldn't say retain employees, get new employees on? Because obviously electrical is huge. I mean, Des Moines is a booming market. Electricians are really high in demand. Has this helped you recruit new talent to come into your organization?
I think if you have a person who gets it, absolutely. I mean, we can run an ad tomorrow on Indeed and have 40 guys show up that have no experience and just want to become an electrician. But to get guys in the door that maybe are working somewhere else, it's helped immensely. And the cool thing about it is after they're there, I would say probably half of the interviews that we do that with someone with experience, I still stop in there and I'll still talk to them.
Mm-hmm.
And I always say, man, if I'm blowing smoke up your ass, that makes me a liar. So if I'm telling you a bunch of stuff we don't do, day one, you're going to look at me and go, that was all a lie. They come in there and I make a point, 60 days, 80 days after they're employed, I go back and I say, was I lying about anything? Every one of those people goes, this is probably the best place I've ever worked. I got guys that say, I wish I would have came here 15 years ago when you asked me the first time.
Mm-hmm.
The hard part was when we first did this, we announced it at the Christmas party, and I'll be honest with you guys, and I don't even know who listens to this, but I was told, let's do this transaction. Let's become an ESOP. Your first share price is going to be pretty low. It's going to be hard to sell this, and I'm like, I can sell it. What do you think it's going to be? Yeah, we're thinking it's going to be like 24 cents a share. And I'm like, well, if anybody knows the stock market, let's get a lot of shares at 24 cents a piece. So we announced this. Everybody's on board. We don't get the share price until 2 months after Christmas. After we get the share price, it comes out that it was a penny.
Oh, wow.
So now I have employee owners who have $7 in their account. Pretty tough deal.
Right. And they're coming to you saying that's not what you told us.
Great deal.
Well, no, they're still owners, but they thought, here we go. So there's a couple different sides to that. Number one, you don't want that share price to come out and be $1,000 a share. Everybody's going to go, shit, I'm going to quit. Like, look at all this money. So you want it to climb slowly, but a penny? I was kind of like, oh, man, this is going to be a tough one. But to go from where we were then to where we are now, people, as their accounts start to build, that's when they're going, man, I'm here forever. Like, this is my deal.
Do they own, Shane, so first off, two questions. Do they get stock the day they start? And if they leave 2 years in, is there a vesting schedule or are they just in?
No, there's a graduated vesting schedule.
Okay.
So you have to work for us for a year before you're, quote, in the program.
Okay.
But you're also earning time served. So that's your first year in.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's a 6-year program. So it's a 6-year vested schedule. So if somebody leaves halfway, if they're 3 years and they leave, they still get their money. There's a little bit of taxability there, just like any other retirement plan. But yeah, either quit, retire, or fire is what I always say. You're going to get money. And the really cool thing about it, again, is I don't want to get too far into it. There's a window called diversification. So even if you have, let's say you have $100,000 in Kline Electric stock, you get to a certain age and you can actually take that money and move it into other things outside of Kline Electric because they don't want that to be your only retirement plan.
Sure, makes sense.
And we tell our guys that all the time. This isn't a guarantee. This isn't your only retirement plan. We still do a 401k.
Yeah, that was
match.
my next question. You still have a 401k as well. So
and a lot of people will quit doing that. They'll start an ESOP and they'll stop the 401k match. But I said, well, then my guys are going to go, you're just robbing Peter to pay Paul.
Right. So they still have a 401k, so they're diversified there.
Yep.
So not all their eggs are in one basket.
Right. The perfect ESOP you can look at is Dolls, the grocery store here in Des Moines. That was an ESOP. Those people were on the news because they were told this is all you have to worry about. It's never going anywhere.
Yep.
You have nothing to worry about. And one day they were closed and all their accounts were zero.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So you have to educate your people and say, if this business fails, you fail. It's totally in your hands. And, it's kind of a hard lesson sometimes.
Yeah, and it's probably, well, at this point, it's too new to have, like you said, you don't have anybody at that 20-year where a guy retires and he's got, I don't know, $500,000, whatever the number is.
Right.
And it's like, Joe just retired. He was here 18 years. And not only did he get paid well the entire time, and he has a 401k, he just got a check for whatever, $500,000. I don't know. Maybe that number's crazy. Maybe it's not.
I hope it's not.
Yeah, and so then you can start telling those stories like, hey, here's some examples of some guys that have put in some time, and this is what it meant to them. And so, yeah, I mean, I think it's, and then I got to believe in your industry, just like ours, those guys know, they hang out with other guys that do similar trade work. And it's like, you're working over at Jim's Electric. Why are you not over here?
Yep.
Yeah, I know you're getting paid good, but man, you're going to get paid good and a 401k, and you're going to be an employee owner, and you've got stock, and we're growing. I mean, so I got to think that from a recruitment standpoint, it's got to be a huge sell.
Our HR guy loves it. I mean, he's like, if I can just tell you my story and how this works, you're going to come work for us.
Right.
So
are you not? So you have no trouble getting? You're getting new people. I mean, you guys, are you staffed up to exactly where you want to be, or are you constantly hiring because of growth?
We're always hiring. What I always say is we can make anybody electrician. We just need good people. We have guys come in the door all the time. I'm this and I'm that, and they come in and they just don't fit our culture, and they don't last very long. we need people that are on the team, on the bus, buying into what we're trying to do. I'd be lying to you if I said in the last 3 years, I'm just like everybody else. We have a hard time getting employees, but we don't use as an excuse anymore. I think if you sit back as a business owner and go, there's just nobody out there.
Right.
There's nobody out there. You're failing yourself. They're not going to find you. You got to go find them. But for some reason in the last 6 to 8 months, I don't know if it's because everybody's got to get back to work. We can't sit around anymore. We've had more qualified people willing to leave 10, 15-year jobs at other companies to come work for us than we ever have.
Nice.
So now the growth comes down to, it's not the people. Now it's go get the work. We'll man it. So,
Sure.
Well, and like I said, we've diversified. In the fall when the houses came to a screeching stop again, like they did in 2008, luckily we had about $15 million worth of multifamily on the backlog where we could move those boys over there and those ladies. Audio, like I said, audio, video, we move them around. And in 18 years of work, I've only laid off 2 guys, and both of them were for medical reasons. So
awesome.
Yeah.
Wow. Can't beat that. Jeez. Holy cow. What is something that you know today that you wish you would have known 5 years ago, 10 years ago when you started this thing off?
I think I've really changed in the last 10 years as far as prioritizing what it's all about. When I first started, like I said, man, if I just want to make money. I want to
make $100,000.
Yeah. And like I said, day one, my name's on the shirt. I'm a millionaire. It's not how it works.
Right.
It's not.
And we all acted that way. We all acted that way. I really put my family first now, which is something I wish I would have done a long time ago. And my employees, it's, you can get the biggest head in the world and think, well, my name's on the shirt. And people still say that today, but I'm like, yeah, it's just a name. Like it's the people that stand behind it. And, it's probably been 12 years ago, we were in a bad spot as a company. We were at a spot where, like you said, with your branch, we were probably 2 months away from being out of business, broke. We just didn't have the right people with the right mentality. They thought, like you said, oh, man, we did $1 million of business last month. We made $1 million. No, we spent 1.5. So moving those people around and looking at the talents that we did have at the time and that we do have today, I think back then I wish I would have just kind of woke up a little bit quicker and said, man, you got to have help. You got to have the right people. And sometimes that costs money. Sometimes, we're hiring folks now for purchasing and for things that don't necessarily make us revenue, but they make the system work.
Absolutely.
And that's the hard part when you're sitting here going, geez, we got 25 people that are on salary now, and the rest of them are all hourly. Maybe we need 30. Maybe that would help it run better, and you're going to get that profit margin just a couple more points higher. So that's probably the biggest lesson I wish I would have known a long time ago. And it's all about just that ego trip that you get on. I own a business, and I don't know. That's all changed for me.
Boy, it's always interesting because the guys, especially the last, I would say, 10 to 15 people that we've talked to, that have bigger companies, everybody's talked about the people and how, the whole thing works because of the people and processes. It's absolutely amazing.
And you've got to have those in place.
Yeah, nobody said anything different. It's always the people and the processes and the values and the culture of the team. Yeah, everybody has said that.
Yeah, something you said, Shane, too, which we've beat up on this podcast a lot is that, I'm so tired of hearing that nobody wants to work today. I mean, I think you're full, Leroy.
Well, we were full up until about 8:30 this morning.
Well, it's
Monday. Remember?
It is Monday, but Perfect Cut has we're always hiring, but we're mostly full. But we've had some people leaving, unfortunately, but great companies find great people. You've got to create a culture. You've got to create a place that people want to work, be a part of something special, treat them with respect. I mean, we're loving on our people more now than we've ever loved on our people. And it's just, I'm so tired of hearing everybody's lazy, nobody wants to work. They don't want to work for you. Yeah. That's the problem. You've got to create a culture that that's enticing, exciting, and you got to treat them with respect. And because there's so many jobs you can work anywhere, right? Whether you're an electrician or you're cutting grass or putting trees in the ground. And so I get a little frustrated with that. I talk to a lot of guys and get a lot of emails. Nobody wants to work. Everybody in my neighborhood, nobody wants, and it's like, there's surely companies in your market that are full, that are kicking ass, right? Yeah, they have everybody. You know why they have everybody? Because they got great systems. They got great core values. They got a great culture in place, and they're keeping their people, and they're not going to go work for you in your shitty shop and when you're kicking gas cans and screaming and have no systems in place, and you open the door and there's pop cans falling out, and they're just not going to do that.
Yeah.
And even if you pay them $2 an hour more, they're not going to go work for you. That just doesn't work. And the other thing you said, and I think this has been a reoccurring theme too, is, and we've talked about it, is, you know, taking your time back. Like, that's the biggest thing. I mean, your family time. And I mean, all I did for so many, it was just, I was so all ego driven, right? Mm-hmm. As long as I have Perfect Cut, everything else will be fine. Don't pay attention to my wife or kids. Don't be, I don't have time to go to a soccer game. Even when I do, I'm on my phone, texting and emailing the whole time. And, you know, one of the questions that was asked is, you know, what's the one thing you wish you had more of? And it wasn't money. What was your answer?
Time.
Time.
100%.
I mean, and that's been a reoccurring theme with guys that we've had on that have been successful, is, you know, getting systems in place so they can get their time and their life back. And I believe when you get that back and you get to spend time with your wife or your kids, your family, whatever it may be, go fishing, whatever your hobbies are, you're still going to be better at your company.
Yeah.
You can't work 80 hours a week, wear every hat in your company, and be fucking miserable.
Yeah.
You know, and you're praying for Fridays and hating Mondays. Yeah. And that's just a shitty way to run a company. And I think it rubs off on the people around you too. And then they don't want to be there, and it just creates this shitty culture.
Yeah, we still, you know, Saturday we had family Easter egg hunt. We still take everybody and their families to Adventureland once a year. Yeah, it costs a ton we had a poker night Saturday night. If you want, I mean,
did you win?
I didn't go because I was with my family.
Okay.
I'd been at volleyball all day, so all I heard was whistles in my head. But you know, we have an employee ownership board who we give them a budget. Mm-hmm. We let them do what they want. We still give out 10-year watches. I know that's old and cliche and kind of Clark Griswold, but those are the kind of things that we do that nobody else does to show that appreciation. It's just people come in there and they go, "You guys really do all this, don't you?" And it's like, yeah, I mean, it's a different approach, but it's been awesome. So
yeah, if you want to have great people, man, you got to create a great culture.
It's a different approach, but look at the success behind it.
Yeah.
So obvious, clearly it works. So Shane, one question we ask everybody that comes on the Green Grind, and it's kind of our last question. What is the best business advice you've ever been given?
Holy cow. I think at the end of the day, if you're providing the value, you're providing the service, like I said, the rest will happen. People, you know, say all the time, we're not charging enough, or we need to do this and we need to do that. If that customer isn't having the experience that they came to you for, they're going to be a one-time customer. Mm-hmm. The coolest thing that we see in our business is those folks that we've done work for all 18 years. And they still pick up the phone and call. They don't necessarily call and say, "Give me your cheapest price." They call and say, "Come get it done." And it goes back to that we're all selling the same stuff. You don't have a magic mower.
No.
You don't have a magic border machine that nobody else does. We're all doing the same thing. It comes down to when you're done with them, what was that experience like? And sometimes it's not easy. Sometimes you gotta, you all been there.
Absolutely.
You just kind of tuck tail and you're like, you know what, we're going to lose on this one, but we want you back as a customer. And that kind of weighed in more than anything at the beginning, was just do what you do and make sure that you value each and every one of them. So I can still run into people in the mall and call them by name, and they're like, "You wired my house 18 years ago. You were the guy." I'm like, "Well, I don't do that anymore, but I still remember you. And, still thanks for your work." And just value those employees would be my other thing. So
yeah, it's all about people, man. You can't do it on your own. I talk to you guys, for our listeners, whether you got one guy, two guys, or 10, man, you've got to take care of your people. I mean, if you want to grow, and you've just got to take care of your people. And you got to be really transparent as an owner, and you got to be motivated. You got to motivate them as well. You've got to live what you say. You've got to walk it and talk it. We talk about that a lot at Perfect Cut. You can't put a dress code in place and then not follow it yourself. Right. You can't say we're going to do this and then I do something totally different. And we've had a big culture change in the last 3 years, and it's not me doing it. It's our team of people that are living it, and it's paid dividends. So
yeah, the last thing I'll say is one of the things I started 2 years ago that has gotten me more insight is one of my office gals, the first of the month, on my desk, there's a list of everyone's anniversary date, their email, what department they work in, and how long they've been here. And for 2 years in a row now, I've emailed every single employee on their anniversary or close to and said, "Thanks for your work, thanks for your dedication." If I know a little bit about them, I kind of ping on that. If I've been on trips with them, because we take guys on trips all the time, And the remarks that you get back from that are so pure, and because it's a one-on-one conversation. It's
Right.
not you passing in the hall and 10 people standing there. Those are worth more to me than anything. And then to be able to take that comment that employee said and shoot it over to their management group and say, I know there's a lot of days where you think this is crap and it's not working. Here's how it's working. And it just creates that synergy of no matter how bad it gets, and those folks just keep coming back, and it's just a fun environment. So
That's awesome.
Awesome. Shane, I appreciate your time, and I've been watching your company grow, and, there's not a lot of companies I admire locally, but, man, I watch what you're doing down there, and man, you guys are kicking ass. I didn't realize you were in 4 markets. I thought it was 3. I should pay a little more attention, but you guys will keep growing and doing good things, and actually, he lives just down the street from my dad, so you get to drive by. My dad's down working on go-karts 24/7, but awesome, man. I appreciate you being on. If anyone wants to check out your company, website, Instagram, Facebook, what do you guys have?
we have all that. KlineElectric.com is our website. Anybody's more than welcome to stop by anytime. We're going to have a nice new state-of-the-art showroom for all the cool stuff, I call it.
Stuff I can't afford.
Yeah, well, come on. No, I don't know about that. But yeah, check it out, and appreciate it. Thanks for having me today.
Awesome.
Thanks for coming on.
Hey guys, we drop a new episode of The Green Grind every Tuesday. If you know someone that wants to be, or you want to be a guest, or you know someone that wants to be a guest, just jump on the Ballard website, you scroll down, you'll see the Green Grind logo. You can fill that out or shoot me a direct email, or you can reach Leroy and I on our Instagram or Facebook page. We certainly appreciate Jobber and Hustler as our sponsors, and we will catch you next Tuesday. Thanks, Shane.
Thanks so much, Shane. Appreciate it.